Hello everyone. I am having a sewing day today. I'm in my comfy cozies and I'm just diving in and getting a lot done, and I thought I'd bring you along with me on this particular alteration. And this one here is a dress I already altered a year ago. This bride got married last year, and she came back because we are about to get to their 1 year anniversary, which is always exciting to see your bride a year later. And this time she wants to do some really fun things with this dress. We're going to cut it knee length, and then she's actually going to even dye it. So I'm pretty excited to eventually see the end result of this. But here on this video, I thought we would conquer turning a long skirt into a knee length dress, and how we can do that. This one's a little simpler. Some of them are a little crazier, poofier, more layers. Luckily this one is a little bit more on the simple side. So let me bring you in close. Let's take a look at all of this. Okay, so here we are, nice and close, and like I said, this was floor length, and now she's wanting it knee length. And what I first did was have her come in and try it on again, just to make sure everything was good. And you'll have to excuse, this one is a little dirty on the bottom, but we're going to be cutting that off. She also got to do a little trash the dress thing where she walked into water and all that kind of stuff. So super fun, but we're going to cut that off. And then I think she's going to have it cleaned and then dyed. But I used this little tool here. I don't know if you can see, it has a little poof ball. It poofs chalk right out of here. And I had her stand in her shoes in the dress, and then I had her tell me where her knee was. So this little tool here adjusts. This part goes up and down, so that you can actually position this right here exactly where you want it. So I had her kind of lift up the dress right where, and sorry, it's falling off my table. I had her lift up the dress right where she wanted it, and she wanted it right at her knee. And so I positioned this right where it was, locked it in, and then because this is white chalk, I can't poof it. What this is meant to do is kind of do a poof, and it's great for bridesmaids dresses, but what I do for wedding dresses is I just take that and then I walk around her, and I put pins everywhere so that completely around her it's level and straight all the way around. So that's what we did here. Now I have it on my mannequin here at the shop, or at the studio. And I'm just gonna check just to make sure everything's doing good. And I did the same thing. I kind of walked around. Now I am noticing, just because right here this doesn't fill out her hips the way that it did on my mannequin. Some of them are a little bit lower because they dropped. I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to just check side to side, make sure those are even, and that the two side seams are exactly even, and then that the back is exactly even on both of the sides. So I do that. Now I'm going to mark it to each layer. So you know me, I do what a lot of seamstresses hate. I will go ahead and use my purple pen, and I will mark this layer and the next and the next just with my purple pen. So on these, and I think on my under layers I'm going to go just a tad shorter than marked, and maybe my outer go just a tad longer than marked. So I'll be kind of doing that. So that's on like that lining. I'm going to remember that on those layers I'll go a little shorter. And on these layers, and then when you have in between your pins, if you can't quite get it straight across, this one would be easy because it's closer together, but I may use this again to measure that and go right in between and mark it. So once you have that all marked, then you have to decide how you're going to hem the dress. And I always like to just do every layer the same way that the designer did. So this top layer, the designer just cut it as is. So I just repeat exactly what they did. And so this one I will trim away. This next layer is tulle, and I will also trim it to make sure that it's even and really perfect with that layer. This next lining layer, which is kind of the outer lining layer, is done a rolled hem. So I will just do a rolled hem on that. And then there is an inner lining layer, the one right up against the skin. Same thing. They have a rolled hem. And I have a video on rolled hems. I will put that up in the description, or I'll put a card up here, and then I'll put it in the description, a link to that. But also down the road, I'll make a new one. Maybe I'll give you a little snippet of how to do a rolled hem on those. Okay, a little bonus. So I'm going to do those layers. It's going to be simple. Finish it, and then she'll be on her way to her 1-year anniversary. Okay, and here what I'm doing is I need to mark the under layer. So I'm just pinning this up and out of my way, making sure that I don't pull that in a cockeyed way. So now I'll just go around and mark that just a little shorter so I can cut it off. Well, and do a rolled hem. Making sure that you stay level here is important. Making sure that this is on solid ground and not lifting up on anything. And you don't want to be pulling it too far out of whack. You want it to just land just just right. It may go a little extra longer than I just had it pinned, just in case, especially on the sides, I think, because I remember that her hips were pulling it out, and on my mannequin it's not, so I gotta keep that in mind too. Okay, now to the sewing machine. Okay, so the first thing, I've got it here on my sewing machine, but I'm going to separate the layers. And I think I'm going to go ahead and right now just leave the safety pins in the top layer just to be safe, because every once in a while, if we have a humid day, the purple pin can disappear a little faster, or if I somehow get distracted or get pulled away. So what I think I will do is sew my lining layers first, just the rolled hems, and then I'll put it back on my mannequin to cut the outer layers. Okay, also I'm going to trim where the skirt is connected. All the layers are kind of connected. And I'll probably want to, when I'm done sewing, remember to reconnect them with a little stitching, just like kind of copy what's already been done. So let's start with the most inner layer. And let me bring you over here and I'll give you a quick tutorial on rolled hems, but this is not an official video on rolled hems. Okay, and excuse the air conditioner. It's a little bit loud, and so I hope you can hear me, and I hope it doesn't drive you crazy with the air conditioner blowing in the background, but it is a really hot day. We've been in the 90s, 98, getting really close to 100 this week, so it's much needed. I shut it off to start filming, and then it started to get really hot in here. But, so we have the innermost lining layer, and my mark is way up here, so I've got a lot I'm taking off, and so what I'm going to first do is fold that on my mark right there. Can you see that? Making sure that my seams are flat. So I don't know if you can see that. There is a mark there. I'm going to fold that. I haven't cut anything yet. And I'm going to do a 1/4 inch stitch, or even smaller. The smaller the better, because you can get a nicer rolled hem for the smaller. And then I'm going to just sew along here, mark to mark. Now this one, I don't have to worry about shrinking it or raising it, because I've already marked it exactly where I want it. It's a little bit shorter than the other lining layer. So I don't know if you can see, my marks kind of go along, and I'm just going to pinch it together, and I'm going to just go mark to mark. And I'm finding my next mark, and I'm also making sure that while I do it, that these seams are flat. I also have my needle. My needle can go in the up or down position when it stops, and I make sure it's in the down position, so if I do any adjusting, like trying to smooth out my seam or ease it in at all, that it doesn't, you know, move like that. And then finding my next mark, and you go along just like that. So sometimes you get to these because it's kind of a rounded skirt. You get to where it kind of puckers just a little bit right there. You could, since the needle's in the downward position, you can kind of adjust it a little bit. Okay, just like that. I'll finish through and then I'll show you the second side. Okay, so I have sewed the stitch. You can see it right there, and please excuse where it's dirty. Remember, this dress has been in trash the dress. But I have sewed one seam. Now I'm going to trim off the excess right here, and then I'm going to roll it over one more time. And there you have it. That part's gone. Then I will do the exact same thing to the other lining layer. However, this lining layer, I measured it exactly at the length that she wants her skirt. So for this lining layer, I'm going to go just a tiny bit above that, so that my tulle and lace layer hangs a little lower. So how I'll do that... Oh, I have another one that I've got to disconnect that layer. So how I'm going to do that is, I know, always get your bearings. This is the bottom of my skirt. This is the top of my skirt. So I want the tulle layer to be a little longer than the marking, and I want this to be a little shorter. So I'm going to do it just a tad shorter, because then there'll be a second roll that will make it a little bit more. You could measure that out if you wanted to. If you wanted to come up with, you want it a half an inch is normal, half an inch, or even an inch shorter. I would probably do a half an inch. So maybe on your first turn, do it about a quarter of an inch shorter, and then on your second turn, the next quarter of an inch. Okay, both of the excess is gone. And now let's do the second fold on each of them. So we will just fold that over on itself, and then sew a little 1/8 inch. It's about an 1/8 inch. I try to do as small as I possibly can. And then sew that down, and then we'll be done for both sides. Hopefully you can see that. Just going to fold that over to that stitch line right there. Okay, and then just come along here and sew my second fold over. Also, guys, tell me, does your machine sound like that? So chunky, chunk, 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 chunk. This sewing machine, my old sewing machines, which I'll eventually show you, I still have my original sewing machine from when I was 16 years old, and I've got the one that I did most of my years in business with, which are very inexpensive machines. And then I bought this machine, and it has always sounded so rough. And I take it in every year. I tell them it's really loud. It's da 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 da, and I don't like it. Tell me how your machine is, because I used to have this inexpensive little Kenmore machine, and it just was so smooth. And this one is just so chonk, 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 chonk. You can listen. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And this machine is fully timed, fully oiled. It goes in once a year for its little cleaning and everything, and when it comes out, it sounds just like this. So, little side note. Okay, I've got the 2 lining layers done. Let's put it on the mannequin and look at the 2 sheer layers. Looking pretty good. Okay, and so now I'm just going to cut and make sure that this is all goes according to the pins that I pinned and checked and everything. Yeah. Okay, and I think I'm going to even cut both of those layers together, because they really are exactly the same pattern. You can feel that. Sometimes you'll get like different tulle layers, like see how there's this lace layer and then there's this tulle layer, and sometimes they'll be cut on different patterns, like one is really full and one is a straighter cut, but these are identical. So I think what I'm going to do is just cut them together, and what I do for that is I pin them together. Let me show you. Okay, so I'll pull down and make sure that my seams on the side are together. And I kind of just pin in an upward vertical way. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it. So just up and down. Just kind of keeping those layers together, so when I go to cut them, I know that they're together in the same spot. Yeah, these both the tulle and the lace are identical because all the seams meet up, and they pretty much flow together. Okay, and I don't know if you can see, I've got my purple markings here, and I went ahead and went around and checked those to make sure that I was hanging just below that. And I'm going to probably come right, It's actually sitting pretty good. I might just go right with it because that's exactly where she wanted it to land. So I'm going to go ahead and take out the pins, not the straight pins, but the safety pins that are in my way because I've got it marked. Now I will say that not all hems are like this. So sometimes you have a hem edging where it's all a pretty edging. You're going to want to fussy cut that or remove that and actually place it right here. This is a totally different hem. The designer did it so that it just has a cut edge. So this one I was able to charge her less for her hem, which was good because she was on a budget, especially a year after her wedding. So I was able to charge her less because I don't have to do any beadwork. I don't have to do anything but just do the exact hem the designer did. And I did this a year ago. It's a little frayed because she's, been in it and dancing and trashing the dress. So, it's a little frayed. But I had done it identical to how the designer did it. And it was just a cut edge originally. So they don't have like an edge that I can add to that. So I just am going to make my little cut in there. And the key is to make it smooth, especially with all these, like that little thing is a little bit hard. You've got to be careful that you don't like snap your scissors. I never, right there. I never close my scissors down. I usually will cut it and then push it, reconnect, cut it, reconnect, cut it, so that I have a really even spot here. And then I'll go back through and trim anything that I feel like maybe got a little so when that's all said and done, it will be like a cute little hem there, and I'll go through and kind of try to tidy up all of those lace pieces. That's just the way this hem is. Like I said, most of them are not just chop it off unless you're just dealing with tulle. But then I'll just finish that. This one scares me a little bit more because it, on the appliques, like right here, when you go to put your scissors in, it's a little harder, and I don't want to just snap and then be in the wrong spot. So I'm being real careful right by those. Just to make sure for hips, I am going a little longer on the side seams, just to allow for the hips. And then I always like it a little longer in the back anyway. You want it even, but just to allow this is kind of a 50s style hem where it's straight across, it's not T-length. You could also do like T-length where you do it short in the front and then you taper it down. That would be more of a high-low is what they call those. You could do that. T-length, I said the wrong thing. T-length is more like mid-calf, and then a high-low is where it's in the front shorter than it is in the back. This is more, she wanted it more like a 50s style, straight across. Okay, and then I'm gonna take out all of the straight pins that I've got here, kind of holding those together. And I'm gonna check all of my layers. Also make sure that everything is perfectly straight and there's nothing jagged. Make sure that those layers kind of flow too. This one's kind of staticky together, so I might even steam it just to check it out. And remember, when her hips are in it, it's all even because it was marked to her exactly. And then one more step after I make sure everything is trimmed good, make sure everything's pressed well. The next thing, also even before pressing, on your side seams and your back seam, you have now cut your seam, and so if you're not careful, anything pulling will open up that seam on both tulle layers. So you need to go through and back stitch. I'll show you how to do that here in a second. You'll back stitch each of the seams to make sure that they don't open up. And then you press it and make sure everything's good and make sure all your layers are, where you want them to be. And then you'll be done. Okay, and then once you've got your whole hem trimmed on all of the lace and tulle layers, you're going to want to go to each seam and secure it down at the bottom so it doesn't unravel while she's wearing it. Make sure you've done each and every seam. Go up just a little bit and try to be right on the old seam. Do a little back stitch and a little back stitch down right there. Whoop. Trim, trim, and so there are 2 side seams and a back seam. So here's my seam. And actually I'm going to cut the tails, just trim those a little bit. They were sticking out a little bit. And then the same thing on the tulle layer, especially that because it's really stretchy. Okay, so then I'll take all of those, press the seams nice and open and pretty. Make sure everything has been trimmed now. Although now that these are flattening, I can tell I need to trim that a little bit. So press that, steam it, the whole dress, and then you are done. From long dress to short dress, boom, just like that. We have a adorable little knee-length 50s style dress just in time for her 1-year anniversary. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you got some good information out of that. Tell me in the comments, what are you working on right now? Tell me about the project that you're working on, why you clicked on the video. I hope you were able to get enough information to do a great job on your project as well. Or if you're just joining me just for the fun of it, tell me what you're up to this bridal season. Love you all. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you in the next video. Mwah. Also, just for fun, I had to show you my beautiful view out the window past this mess here. My bougainvillea is blooming out there. Let me see if I can zoom in. It looks so nice. It's so good to be in summer. Let me know in the comments, how is the weather near you? And are you having a hard time staying in sewing because you really want to be out in the garden? We'll see you next time. Bye.